It's Daniel C. Tagliarina. Tagliarina.
That's it.
Did I get that right? I have to kind of say that slowly. I don't know. Okay, Assistant Professor of Government at Utica College. Your thoughts? We just talked during the break. Interesting time to be studying politics and government.
Yeah, very interesting time.
Yeah.
One of the things we talk about a lot of times, those of us who are political scientists or government politics professors, is that there's a certain curse that comes with the job because the crazier or more contentious things get, the more interesting our lives get, and the better of us feel a little bad about that.
Yeah. What is going to happen? Which President Trump are we going to be seeing? I don't think the tweeting's going away.
No, definitely not. I mean, he said as much. It's really hard to say because we've gotten a lot of promises both during the campaign and post-election and lots of back and forth where he said one thing and then taken away and then gone back so many times that I don't think anyone, maybe not even Donald Trump himself, really knows what we're going to get.
Yeah. Let's be honest. Let's just call a spade a spade. Republicans, conservatives, tend to be somewhat, obviously, it's a major cities versus rural areas. There is that, but take that dynamic away. Those that seem to be Republican and conservative are very serious. They take their politics very seriously.
That's correct.
And they vote in primaries. They vote in general elections. Liberals, I'm not sure you can say the same. The turnout has not been there. The Democratic Party could be in trouble right now.
It could be. It's hard to say, and you definitely see a lot of sort of pains between Democrats who start to argue that Bernie would have won or that it should have been Joe Biden or that Hillary
there was your movement. You had a movement. Trump had a movement. Bernie Sanders had a movement, but they never thought he could win.
Yeah, so there's a lot of that back and forth, and then others who point out that there were 30 years of a public narrative about Hillary Clinton that basically we found out she couldn't overcome, and probably no one could at that point.
Do you think Putin played enough of a role to change the outcome, or was the movement with Trump just so strong that nothing would have changed anything?
It's hard to say. The evidence that has been released suggests that a lot of it was about public perception and that Putin did lead certain ways. And we see leaks that we know there's information on Trump that didn't come out, but that only hurt the Democrats. So it suggests that he did play a role, but whether it was enough to change the election is far too close. And with the split between the Electoral College and the popular vote, it's really hard to say any one factor was enough.
Talking with the BBC guys yesterday afternoon, and they're just basically kind of poking fun, saying, look at you guys, it's a mess. What a mess. And I just said, Brexit. You're going through the exact I think there is a pushback, and there's been a movement towards social change and maybe social liberalism. And I think this is the result worldwide of a pushback. And the other thing is we keep talking about that gap between the very wealthy and everybody else. And does that play a role in this?
I would imagine it has to.
It's
exactly the role or how much it matters. We see that, but America's often plagued by the belief that whenever it's asked, I forget the numbers, but a large number of Americans believe they can end up in the top 1% without fully understanding just how much money that top 1% has. So there is a divide there, but there's always the belief in progress that sort of mitigates some of it.
For a capitalist society, though, we have to believe that, right? That and it is funny to watch somebody who's just barely making ends meet defending the wealthiest of the world, because we still want to believe that we have the chance to get there. That is an interesting philosophy or a psychology, an interesting psychology of all of this. Yeah,
and the recent sort of economic data, for lack of a better phrase for it, that points out that we're not actually doing, like the younger generations aren't doing better than their parents for the first time in a long time, which both feeds the sort of resentment that Trump played on very, very well and very publicly in the election, as well as some of this pushback perhaps against the 1%. I mean, we saw years ago with Occupy Wall Street, which ultimately went nowhere because they didn't have a good claim.
When you see students, what are they saying? Are they generally nervous about Trump? Do you have a battle in the classrooms where half are for Trump and half are not? What are you seeing?
Classes aren't too bad typically, but there was a definite sort of dour tone after the election where a lot of people who all semester said they don't care. They're basically the same.
All of a sudden
once the result was in, all of a sudden they're like, maybe I do care. It's like,
and
it's a little late.
We did learn something. Did we not learn something that middle America, rural America, voting you can make a difference, and it did.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those close states that people were predicting Hillary would win, that Trump ended up winning, were by smaller than a football stadium.
It's crazy. Professor, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.